Now with Nadine.
Louie Vito is in the studio today, Olympian, X Games medalist, Dew Tour champion, and all-around powerhouse. He's dominated the half pipe, taken on Dancing with the Stars, and tied the knot with a pro golfer bombshell. Now he's here to talk about all things on and off the snowboard, Louie. Did you like the intro?
I did like that intro.
I had to put in the bombshell because you know Haley's my friend and I love her to death.
Oh yeah, I love her as well.
And
so
you think she's a bombshell
and that's,
too?
Yeah, perfect. I was going to say
Yes.
bombshell is a perfect way to describe her.
It is a perfect way to describe her. Now, you are an Olympian snowboarder.
Yes.
You've done how many Olympics?
Two
Olympics, and we are training for 2026 in Milan.
Yes, we are.
And we're going to get to all of that, but you know me, I like to start from the beginning.
Of course.
So let's rewind. You grew up in Ohio.
Yep.
And when you were a kid, were you like, I'm going to be in the Olympics?
No, so when I started snowboarding, I think I was 5 or 6, and my grandpa actually had all of the grandchildren in Ohio starting out skiing. And then my dad and I saw snowboarding. We're like, that looks pretty fun. Let's try it. But snowboarding wasn't in the Olympics. It wasn't in the Olympics until '98 in Nagano. So when I started snowboarding, it wasn't like, you're going to snowboard and you're going to go to the Olympics like you do with a lot of sports. A lot of sports, when you play, you know the pinnacle is the Olympics. But with snowboarding, it was just something that we thought was fun. So I started day one with my dad, and we just kind of were hooked. I remember like my dad and I kind of just falling all over the mountain, being like, how do you do this? I don't know, but this is fun. Like, we had no idea what we were doing. And we just started snowboarding more. And then my sister started snowboarding. I have an older sister. She started snowboarding. Then my mom started snowboarding. So we had, at one point, we're all snowboarding together. So whenever we'd go to the mountain, everybody was on the snowboard, but we were from Ohio. It's not land of the mountains.
It's like we're not growing up in Colorado or Utah or in Tahoe. This is Ohio.
And I mean, honestly, if you go to snow bowls, way bigger than when I grew up riding. And when I grew up riding, it's 10 seconds down. It takes me 10 seconds to go down that hill if I go right now. And I always make the joke, like my friend, when I go home for Christmas, we'd be riding at night because it's open until 3 in the morning at the time on the weekends and holidays.
What, do they have all the lights?
Yeah, but it looks like a Walmart parking lot. They're like orange, super shadowy. But my friend could start his truck in the parking lot from the top of the mountain. That's how small it is. But it's what I love. I grew up there. It helped shape this type of snowboarder.
Sure.
And I always say, like, I did this true stepping stone, Midwest. Then I went to the East Coast, and then I ended up on the West Coast.
Well, we're gonna step. We're gonna step through this interview, but first, I do want to talk about. So, when you were young, did you have dreams of being something else when you grew up?
Well, I played a lot of sports. I played baseball until that got a little boring for me.
Slower.
I wasn't the best batter.
Yeah.
I was, fast. I loved playing outfield, but it also was just too much lull. And for me,
Sure.
I get people all fired up because I always say, if you have an inning designated to stretching, it's not really for me. I have too bad of ADHD. I need to be moving. I did gymnastics because my parents thought gymnastics was very, very important pre-puberty. And then I kind of just stuck with it. My dad was a wrestler, grew up in, coaching it, wrestling as he grew up, but I never made the switch from gymnastics to wrestling, even though a lot of his friends would see me, my build, oh, you must have wrestled. No, I only did gymnastics.
How was that being a little boy doing gymnastics?
It was good. My sister did gymnastics as well. We used to drive 45 minutes every day after school to practice. And like I said, I did that competitively, but then as I started snowboarding more, you learn most of your tricks in gymnastics in the summer, but then you also learn a lot of snowboarding stuff in the summer. You go to summer camp in Mount Hood, Oregon. I would go to Wendell snowboard camp.
So how old were you doing that?
I started going to Wendell's when I was 8.
Oh, wow.
And it started with like 1 week. Last session of the summer, it was the cheapest. It's not as expensive as it is now. It wasn't. And then as I got better, I started going longer, and then I developed a good relationship with Tim Wendell, who owned the camp, and so he kind of put me through odd jobs and let me stay at camp for free, or my dad would do like some trades. We need new carpet, so my dad would, facilitate that so I could stay at camp longer. And then I was never going to gymnastics practice in the summer.
It was all snowboarding.
And then in 8th grade, I went to a boarding school for winter, which is with the competitive season for gymnastics, and that was when I kind of cut gymnastics off. Because I would still go, we'd have a gymnastics meet in Las Vegas, or anywhere we'd go, my dad and I would take our snowboarding stuff, and our coach would get so mad because we'd go snowboarding the day before the gymnastics meet, but hey, let's go, we've never been to this resort before, let's go, okay. Because we just didn't care where it was, we just loved to snowboard. I mean, I've ridden landfills that they turned into ski resorts. So I've ridden everything and anything. It didn't matter. It was just as long as I was on my snowboard, my dad and I were stoked.
And at that age, getting on a snowboard, where snowboarding at that time was only just growing in popularity, did you have fear, or were you just fearless? Like, would you just go straight down?
I don't think I really had much fear. And like, I remember like wanting to learn a backflip. I think I learned a backflip when I was like 10. I went to another snowboard camp in the summer called Camp of Champions up in Whistler, Blackcomb in British Columbia. And they built a jump and I learned, because, you know, for me being a gymnast, I just wanted to flip. So learning to flip, like, in Ohio, it's just such a different scene than a Tahoe or a Park City. So like, if you could do a backflip at your home mountain, like, you were the man. So like, that's what I wanted to do. And the older guys even in Ohio could do that kind of stuff. And that was like, all right, you did it. Like, so that's what I wanted to learn. But to me, it was just like, I wanted to get good at snowboarding and be able to flip and spin. My first year at Wendell's, though, I sliced my head open, because this was before helmets. And we call it a scorpion, where you catch your toe edge, you fall on your chest, and my board came up. And normally you flip over, but I was so flexible and little, the board came up and sliced me in the side of the head. And that was my first time, you know, really getting hurt. And, you know, it's just one of those things.
And at that point, you're like, either I'm done or I need a helmet.
Well, we ended up taking a skate helmet, because Burton came out with the Burton Red helmet that next winter, but it wasn't a thing. So we Jimmy rigged a skateboard helmet so I didn't have the pressure on where I had my staples in my head. And then I started wearing a helmet ever since then.
Well, yes, thank goodness for the helmets now. But I think back then, like, it seems like you had such a big support system through your family to send you to all these camps. Did your dad see something in you?
Well, my parents have always been super supportive, but also, I wouldn't say strict or helicopter parents like you see a lot nowadays, but it was whatever you're going to do, like, do it the best that you can.
Go all in.
And it was a lot of times it was used as motivation, like, if you're a good kid, you get good grades, you can do this.
Sure.
And so that kind of pushed me, like, well, you know, you keep being a good kid, you get things like this. You know, and for me, that was like I love sports. I did Olympic development soccer teams, so I love soccer as well. So whatever I did, I just gave it everything I had. But at least with snowboarding, it was fun because it was new. It's kind of a counterculture, but in Ohio, like, especially at my school, they didn't understand it. I played football, baseball, basketball. They get stick and ball. They never understood snowboarding. So it got to a point where I was doing pretty well. I went to snowboard camp, met a kid around my age, and his dad was there. My dad actually took the camp with me, because my dad he's very obsessive with things. So he took the camp with me. And then we learned about these snowboard series called USASA. And there's actually a USASA series at a snow bowl in Arizona as well, but I had the one in Ohio. So then we started competing, and then we started traveling a little bit more in the Midwest. My dad was competing, then my sister's competing.
So the whole family?
Yeah, so it was like a big family outing. But like, I was little, and in Ohio, again, we have night riding. They'd start with the youngest kids and go to the oldest kids. Well, my dad loved competing. He loved snowboarding. He developed a passion before I didn't even know what passion meant, but he loved it. So like, he would literally lay his jacket on the snow, because by the time he's competing, it's later, and I would like lay down or almost sleep while he's doing his runs, because he wanted to compete. And I'm so little and young that it's, you know, 9 o'clock at night, I'm getting a little tired, so you just lay his jacket in the snow and here you go, Louie. All right, I'm gonna go do my runs.
But look at how that influence has rubbed off on you.
Yeah,
is he your best friend?
Yeah, he was I mean, obviously Haley's my best friend now,
yes,
but
Haley, yes.
my role model, yes, and both my parents are. But my dad, you know, he came from a single immigrant mother, very blue collar from upstate New York, but it was whatever you're gonna do, do everything you can to be the best at it and have no regrets in whatever you do. So he did that himself, even at his age, competing in snowboarding, but that's just always what we did. Whatever we're gonna do, like, let's try to be the best at it.
Okay, so your bridge between snowboarding and the camps and the schools to the first big break, what was that?
Well, we'll take a half a step back. I met a guy in Pennsylvania. We were going to Seven Springs, which is in western PA, and then he ended up being a coach at a snowboard boarding school on the East Coast in Stratton. So it's called Stratton Mountain School. Snowboard in the morning, go to school in the afternoon, college prep school.
What a dream.
Exactly. But it's funny because I'm like, I went to a real snowboard boarding school, but it was also college prep. So they had ski racing, snowboarding, cross-country skiing. The guy asked about me going in 6th grade. No way. 7th grade. Yeah, not yet. 8th grade. My parents were like, yeah, okay. So they took a lot of heat.
Did you want to go?
Yeah,
because I wanted to leave your parents. Or
I mean, I think so, but it was, for me, it was like I get to snowboard every day. And in Ohio, if I missed more than 5 days in 9 weeks, they were trying to fail me because they didn't understand snowboarding. I was really good in school, but they just didn't understand. So winter of 8th grade, I moved to Vermont. I lived in a dorm. My deal with my parents was I had to take Latin because that was like one of the courses. My mom's like, good for grammar.
You use it now every day
of your
life.
My grammar and my English is so perfect now because of it. But so I got tutored in the fall and the spring, old school tutor, like grab my face, point it at the paper if I zoned out. So that was the deal, to go to the school. And then it was always, my dad would say, we care more about you being a good person than a snowboarder. So as soon as that doesn't happen, then we'll make you the best snowboarder in Ohio, meaning we'll pull you out of the school. This is a luxury. This is something that not everybody can get, this opportunity, but we want you to be a good kid first. So if you're not, we bring you back to Ohio. You just do the Ohio thing. So that's where I started. And then I went to the Olympics to watch in 2002.
Where was it?
In Salt Lake.
And how old were you?
13.
And at 13, watching the Olympics with your school, right?
No, I went with a friend who I went to school with.
They went to school.
They were very financially set. They flew us out.
Yes.
My dad came, me, a teacher of ours, and my friend and his family. And so we got to watch the U.S. sweep halfpipe.
And what was that like for you?
That was insane because, I'm at the Olympics watching. Then I learned I didn't learn that moment, but Ross Powers, who won 2002, went to Stratton Mountain School, had the coach that was coaching me now, and I'm like, whoa, okay, so
you're putting all these things together.
All these pieces are coming together. And then I went to nationals from USASA, and I won my age group. Other than that, I got a third the year before I went to Stratton Mountain School, and then other than that, I was middle of the pack.
So at 13, watching the Olympics, is that the moment you thought, that's going to be me?
That's where I kind of was like, I can do this. And because I'm doing the same thing that Ross Powers did.
You're following his path.
And then you see, I go in that spring, I win my age group at nationals. Like, oh, okay,
Where
now
was
it's
that?
clicking. That was in Waterville was the first one. I got third. Where was the next year? I can't even think of that right now. Yeah, that's a long time ago.
It's all a blur. We go everywhere with
20 plus years ago.
Right.
But I give a lot of credit to the coach I had, Scott
Sure.
Palmer at Stratton Mountain School, being able to snowboard every day, having a long season, because Ohio is like, we might open on Christmas and we're closed sometime in February.
Yeah.
So you never know. Whereas now, snowboarding every day, I have a coach, I have a full season, I'm traveling, I'm getting coaching that I never had, and I'm riding better features, half pipes, jumps, rails, and I'm with kids that are all on the same page as me.
At that time, what was your this is the Louie trick, this is the Louie move? What was your signature thing?
Oh, at that time, I didn't really have one. I was trying to come into my own, and I'm riding with kids that are all good. So that helped me get better. But I remember one time staying, I had a dorm room. I think the first day that we were going snowboarding, I slept with my snowboard stuff on, including my boots, not tied. I woke up with my feet asleep because I was so excited to wake up, I'm going snowboarding. Because we'd ride from the time it opened until lunch, eat lunch, and then go to school from 12 or so to 5:15 at night.
Right.
So we'd have study hall at night because I lived in the dorms and I'm a young kid. But it did take me a little bit to adjust to that because you don't have your mom there being like, did you study for this test? Let's go over flashcards. Let's do this. And then, I have I'm with all these wealthy kids. So I'm on this hand-me-down laptop computer, not really knowing what's going on. I remember I was telling Haley this too. We had phone cards. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't get a cell phone until I was 16. So you're using phone cards to call home.
You used to have to dial collect.
Yeah. So, it was a whole new world for me, and living on my own, but I'm in a dorm room.
But how awesome for your parents to give you that experience and knowing the belief they had in you.
But you got to think of other parents being like, how can you send your 13-year-old away? Sure. Do you not love your kid? And they're like, no, we love our kid. That's why we're doing this.
That's why we're doing this.
So it was definitely.
This is when you say, look at me now. But
it was definitely hard. Definitely hard for them. Yeah. But that's really gave me a lot of, because when I'm younger in Ohio, parents would tell my dad oh, your son has it, and we're like, he's in the middle of the pack when he's competing at nationals against these kids from Tahoe. But then it started really clicking, and I think that's where you take your Midwest and your parents' hard work, your work ethic, and they instilled it in you, and you bring it to now you have a little bit more there. Now you just are adding fuel to the fire there.
There is something very special to the people in the Midwest.
Yeah, so I think that helped a lot, and being with kids that all want to snowboard. I think there wasn't a lot of snowboarders. Ski racing was the biggest, then snowboarding.
Still at that time.
Yeah, especially at the school.
Right.
But the kids that you're going to school with are around your age. I mean, between 8th grade and a senior in high school.
So at that time, who were your idols in snowboarding at that time?
Well, Ross Powers, obviously, because he went to the school, was a big one. Danny Cass has always been one of my favorites, who's a very good friend of mine as well. I mean, I see Danny and Ross, they're coaching now, so I see both of them pretty much every week.
Yeah.
But there's been a few. Mark Frank Montoya, who wasn't really a competitive snowboarder, who I became friends with when I moved to Utah. But it's crazy to see so many of them that I looked up to that I know now. Jim Rippey, because he had the Rippey flip, which was so sick. And I have a photo of him when I'm a little kid at summer camp, my first summer camp, and it's like the best photo. I mean, he's on his knee, like holding my hand, and I'm just like a little kid just cheesing. And Jim Rippey is somebody I became friends with, and it is cool because in snowboarding, I think it's not like other sports. Like when people are like meeting me, I'm like, I never thought you would care to meet a snowboarder. I snowboard for a living. It's not anything big. And all of them were just so down to earth, and they say, you never want to meet your idols, but in snowboarding, every idol that I met has been so great, and a lot of them I'm friends with now.
You're friends with now.
Which is, kind of insane in my head.
Right, but I think kids now, I mean, it's so nice to have a positive role model doing something out of the box. Not, baseball's great, football's great, basketball's great, but something that's, extreme sport. And the Olympics didn't come first.
No.
You had a few other things before we got there.
Yeah,
so tell me
I
about
mean,
that.
I think for me, like one of my biggest ones was when I made X Games the first time, because I grew up.
Which was where?
It was in Aspen. It's been in Aspen the whole time since I've competed.
It's always in Aspen.
Yes, but not back when I first started watching. Like we used to take a VHS tape. I'd watch all the summer, all of winter. They had crazy sports.
There's people probably listening that don't know what a VHS tape is.
Yeah, probably. But like they had like shovel racing. They had crazy sports and luge in the summer, and I'd watch all of it. So getting to compete at my first one was pretty insane.
Did you have to qualify for that?
Yeah, in a sense.
Kind
so
of.
I won open class at nationals, and that's how I got my spot into X Games. I did really well in X Games. I qualified second, and then I ended up fifth, which was really big for where I was in my career, and that's what kind of started it. But it's like sitting there at X Games, you're like, oh, wow, I'm at X Games, and then you're like, wow, all right, I got to compete, shake it off. So that was like the big first, I would say, milestone in my career. And then winning my first X Games was the next milestone. And then the Olympics is another milestone.
All right, so with X Games, what were the things that you were doing to win? Like, what's your trick? What's the Louie thing?
Well, when I won, I'm trying to even remember the first year I won, but I was like the first one to do a frontside double cork 1080 in competition. And then I was the first one to do 3 doubles in a row and 4 doubles in a row. So I've always been like a technical rider. They have riders, he always goes so big. I never went the biggest, but I always had the most technical run. So that's where, I kind of, I guess, would be known for coming up, would have been like just how technical I am. I had the big tricks and being the first one to do some of them, linking them all together.
How does it feel to be in the air and do those tricks? I mean, we watch it all on TV, and you think, well, I mean, it's so cool, it's so impressive, and it looks like you're flying. I mean, I'm too scared. But for you, how does it, like, give me a taste? Like, what does it feel like to be in the air like that?
I mean, it feels pretty good when it goes well. But there's sometimes when you're in the air and you're like, uh-oh.
I'm not about to land
this isn't going to be good. Or you might get...
And that really does cross your mind.
Yeah, because there's times like you're very aware. There's some tricks, you're doing 2 flips and spinning. It's kind of blind. And you have one spot where you spot the landing and you're like, uh-oh. Or I get like stuck and then you almost get lost. And you just kind of have to trust yourself, like, oh, just stay in this ball and I'll get over my head. But it is a pretty surreal feeling, but also it's so much second nature that it's not something I think about always. Like if I'm doing 2 flips, there's some doubles that I do that it's just, that's what I do. I mean, it's just boom, 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 you're down.
And are you still that little 8-year-old in Ohio? Like, are you, whenever you go, when you're going down the half pipe, like whenever you make that first move going down, is there a memory in your mind? Are you thinking of your mom? Are you thinking of your dad? Are you singing a song?
No.
Like, what is it?
So I have music playing, and I have it playing really loud, and I do noise canceling.
While you're doing it?
Yeah.
Okay,
noise canceling. People don't think that's crazy, noise canceling, because they like to hear.
Sure.
And I think that started when I was younger. like a lot of the announcers knew me, and I didn't want to hear what they were talking about before I'm going, because they're like, whether I did well the week before or this, that, or the other. I didn't want to hear it. And then on the other side is when you're in the air, you don't know if the crowd's yelling because you're about to die or because you're doing something really cool. They'll yell for the same amount of energy either way. So for me, I go to my spot where I start. I do my bindings tighter. I do the sign of the cross, take a deep breath. And then I might say like a positive affirmation to myself. And then once I'm actually dropping into the pipe, I don't hear anything. I don't hear my music.
But what's the music that's on? I want to know.
I normally have one song for the whole year.
Are you allowed to say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
What has it been? Like, what was your first X Games
song?
So
for the longest time, well, for the Olympics in 2010, it was Eclipse. The group's called The Clips, and it was the song they had. And I listened to that one. And then for a stretch, it was like Meek Mill. I love Meek Mill, so it was always Meek Mill. Then the last few years, it's been in like an MGK song, and so this last season and this season so far, it's an MGK song and this guy T Grizzly. They have a song called Sopranos, which is the song I listen to, but it's his verse, so it's like I'll listen to it, waiting to go because they might be waiting for a score, and then I'll start it over, and then when I go to my spot, start it over. So it's like I'm pretty much dropping in at the same spot of that song for the whole season.
It's like you're in a snowboarding music video.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And if you're watching me, like I used to be even more like bopping, like, and if you knew where I was at in the song, like you could be following along. But that's just like, so Sopranos, like once the beat drops is normally when I start going. But then once I'm in the pipe, I don't even hear the music. And it's so loud that if I had my headphones in right now and I'm sitting here and you're trying to talk to me, I wouldn't hear you. Even this close.
That's why you're going to have a really successful marriage.
Yeah.
Because you could just zone out anything. And you just nod your head.
Yeah.
And say yes.
Works out sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, so we went from X Games winning. Was that the transition to the Olympics? Is that how it works?
No, I actually made 2010 Olympics, I believe, before I won my first X Games.
Okay, remind us where 2010 was.
2010 was in Vancouver.
Yes.
Okay. And that was surreal. I mean, a kid from Ohio that didn't even have a half pipe,
Ohio.
making it to the Olympics. And,
how old were you?
21.
21.
I think that's how it was.
So you just had your first drink and then you went to the Olympics.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure your dad was there the entire time.
Yeah, so my whole family was coming to watch. My sister's been super supportive my whole career, especially because she was busy. She went to college and she was a competitive gymnast, cheerleader. She cheered basketball and football in college, but she would always come. It started we used to have a thing called Junior Worlds, and she would come with my family. Wherever it was, Italy, Germany, wherever it was, she would always come and support. And then she lived with me for a little bit because I went from Dancing with the Stars in 2009 right into Olympics. And so she was living with me.
That was the pivotal moment of your career.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people know me from that.
We're going to talk about that.
But she helped me so much during that time with like managing everything from Dance with the Stars going right into the Olympics, and then the Olympics was just like.
I wanted to prioritize Louie the Olympian versus Louie on Dancing with the Stars. But since you brought it up.
Yeah.
Because I know you really want to talk about it.
I'll talk about whatever.
It's the only thing you want to talk about forever. Did you got a call? How did that work?
So I had a friend of mine who's an agent. He was like, hey, would you want to be interested in doing an interview for this? And I never watched the show. My parents would watch it.
Sure.
I knew like Floyd Mayweather did it.
Yep.
I knew like Master P did it.
Yep.
And I saw theirs because I'm a huge Floyd Mayweather fan. And obviously with like loving hip hop, like I liked Master P. And so like my dad always said like, oh yeah, just say yes until you actually have something. So I did the interview. It went really well. This time, I was still trying to ride, but my meniscus was torn.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, well, if they ask me to dance, then at the interview, I don't know what they're going to ask me. Then my knee, I can't do it.
There's your excuse.
They didn't, but the interview went really well. And they said like, oh, you don't fit with this season. So I thought they were going to see if I made the Olympics. And this is the springtime of 2009, I think, something like that. And so then they called and like, hey, do you want to Dance with the Stars? And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh. So that we, kind of, yeah. And then I talked to a few sponsors, made sure they're okay with it. But some people didn't think it was a good idea. They're like, how is he going to do Dance with the Stars? He should be getting ready for the Olympics. But I got everything I needed done going into that Olympic year. And I think it was a good way to kind of separate from like all the Olympic hype. and just focus on something else. So I did Dancing with the Stars, and that's a whole new world.
It's a whole new world. I know. We've talked before, and you're like, that's been kind of the scariest thing that you've done.
For sure.
You did say that.
Yeah, and I think it helped me. I mean, so there's a few things I always say. It's like, first off, it's the #1 show. My season was the #1 show in the U.S. We had 22 million people watching a week. So the first way I looked at it was if I can take a fraction, 1% of that, and introduce them to snowboarding, that's a huge influx into our industry. Because it's like I always use the analogy too, when I go to New Zealand and you watch rugby, if I watch it by myself, I'm like, yeah, rugby is cool. But then you watch it with someone from New Zealand or from Australia where they love rugby, then they're like, oh, this person does this person, and you're more attached to it. You have a little bit of emotional draw to it. So I thought if I could do that with snowboarding, that'd be a huge influx. Not just for me or for competitive snowboarding, but, oh, I love snowboarding. I'm going to go buy this person's snowboard. Well, that's helping the whole industry. Then I'm so far out of my comfort zone. I'm wearing clothes you wouldn't see me wear on Halloween, live audience, doing something that I have no confidence in, and doing that every week. Then when I get into my comfort zone, I know what I'm doing. I know what the judges want. Should be a piece of cake, which it was. I went to the Olympics that year and was like, cool.
I've been down Dancing with the Stars. I have got this.
I mean, I think live snowboarding, it's like, all right, Louie, you're good. If you're live TV, I can take my time.
Sure.
You know, sign of the cross. Dancing with the Stars, when they introduce you and that music drops, you're going. It doesn't matter if you have to sneeze, cough, you got an itch. No, you're going. And then you're like on cloud 9, and then they're like, you did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong. I'm like, you should have seen me yesterday. You would have thought this was a completely different person.
Just go watch me snowboard.
I know. And so that really helped just being so...
Who were you competing against?
Chuck Liddell, Michael Irvin, Kelly Osbourne, Donny Osmond, Maya, Aaron Carter, the Iron Chef. I mean, we had Macy Gray, Melissa Joan Hart. We had so many people. A lot of them I'm still friends with today too.
I interviewed Donny Osmond.
Yeah, Donny, I was like, Donny, I love Donny, but it's just like, Donny was still doing his Vegas shows.
Yeah, that's not fair.
And Dancing with the Stars.
That was a conflict of interest.
I'd be watching him, and I was like, I'm like getting a free Vegas show right now. And he's still doing his routines for that. I'm like, I'm barely remembering what I'm supposed to do. I have one dance to learn. And then Maya, she was like trained in college. She took dance in college. I was like, okay.
What was your favorite? Okay, if you had to choose one of the songs performances that you did, what was the song? What was the style of dancing? The most memorable moment of that show?
I think a lot of it was funny because I did a lot of flips in mine, you know, standing back, like flip off the stage, all those things, because I thought if I'm flipping, that's less dance steps I have to do.
It's also very impressive. The camera loves a flip.
I wish the judges felt the same way. No, but it was fun. I mean, I thought like the Argentine tango was cool. The rumba was cool because it was like the turn around. Yeah. But I'm thinking of like, I think it's in the Wedding Singer or something where they like remix it in a sense where the guy ad-libs, and that's in my head. I'm like, okay, that's not the song. I did do a dance, which was kind of corny, but I did a dance to Puppy Love with Donnie singing.
Oh,
which is like
very corny, but it's very cute.
But it's cool because I'm like, how many people can say they danced to Donny Osmond singing the song for them? Again, I had some flips in that routine to speed it up a little bit, but yeah, it was really cool. But you're in such a different world. I mean,
the training is also serious business.
Yeah, and then this was like where they made you take mandatory breaks. But like in snowboarding, if I'm frustrated, I work on something else. I go take a full run, or I just go home and it's fun.
Right.
Dancing with the Stars, like you have to learn this by this day, because if you don't, it doesn't matter. You're still going to go do that in front of 22 million people, live audience. So it was being young too, to learn how to deal with frustration, especially in something that you don't know how to do. Like dancing, there's a right and a wrong way. Snowboarding, there's not. We could do the same trick and make it look completely different, and that's okay. Dancing, this is the syllabus. This is a dance move, this is not. This is the correct way, this is not. Snowboarding is not really like that. So learning, I'm like, I don't move like that.
It's the difference of like math and English. I say I don't really like math because it's black and white.
Yeah.
Where you like the black and white.
Yeah, I like the freestyle.
Freestyle.
I like in, English you can add your creative
you can
touch
add
to
everything,
it. In math, it's like, this is how you do it.
This is it. I do feel, though, with Dancing with the Stars, and we're going to get to the Olympics because I know Olympics is very important, much more important than dancing. I do feel with dancing, you also then, with Critics' Choice Awards, like kids, I feel like that's also, it was really good momentum for you to becoming a positive male role model in snowboarding to the younger generation.
Yes and no. In snowboarding, it wasn't necessarily the coolest thing that I did, but
Okay. Maybe for the other kids.
but
though.
I mean, for like parents, right?
Yeah.
You know, we used to play a game. My family and I, like, if someone came up to me and recognized me, it'd be like, do they know me from snowboarding or from Dancing with the Stars?
You could tell.
And there'd be a couple of times where they'd throw a curveball, and you're like, oh, Dancing with the Stars. They're like, no, snowboarding. And I was like, whoa, I didn't expect that.
Right.
But then you have some older Dancing with the Stars fans that did come over and would be watching snowboarding, which I thought was really cool because, you know, they're a grandma.
Sure.
Or I have friends who's snowboarders whose grandmas or parents love me from
so now
Dancing
the
with the
grandmas,
Stars.
you're really in with the grandmas.
Yeah,
now.
but I mean, it was just, it was a great opportunity. It was something that's like, you know, I always use snowboarding as my driving force. I look at it like the trunk of a tree.
Yeah.
And then I have all these branches off. So when I'm done snowboarding, it's like I have this huge tree of all these different things I did. And then I ended up doing ESPN The Body Issue.
Yep.
Which, again, I didn't know you're like actually naked for that. So that was a whole nother thing.
Oh,
But
well, now you've opened up a can of worms.
yeah,
I want to hear it all.
Well, so since
Completely?
I did Dancing with the Stars, it's so far out of my comfort zone that this didn't seem as wild,
Okay.
but it's still
Until
very,
they said strip?
very awkward and uncomfortable.
Okay, so I want to hear all about the photo shoot.
I mean, so I
Where
got
was it? In a studio?
yeah, in a studio in
Okay.
New York, and originally I missed the date because I got stuck in New Zealand, and so I came right from training, and I was like, oh gosh, but they're like, do a training move. I'm like, I don't know what a training move is, so we just did like a jumping shot, and you get a little more comfortable. There's not a lot of
Sure.
people there, but you know, for me, it's not something normal. So
Is that when Haley fell in love with you? Did she call you after she found that and saw it?
I mean, Haley was probably a
knocked down
little
your
young for that at the time. But, you know, it's with ESPN, so
Yeah.
it was, like, tastefully done. But it's, again, you're starting, you go to the party, and it's like, you know, you have Gronk's doing it, and this Blake Griffin's doing it. You have a lot of big-name athletes that are doing it, and then you have a snowboarder, which is kind of crazy.
Which is sweet, though, because we have to remember that these extreme sports really do attract lure and intrigue to so many people. And like I'll say, I have 3 boys. I'm a mom of 3. They're all very different. You know, one of them is into football, baseball, soccer, where one of them, you throw him on a surfboard and he can do it.
Yeah.
So I think that it's really nice to not put comparison. I think snowboarding and extreme sports should just be like any other sport in popularity. And I think it is now.
Yeah, and I think the Olympics has played a big part, and then within
Right.
2002, sweeping in the U.S., that really kind of sent it to the next level. But being in the Olympics, it's crazy. I mean, you went from, even before, like when I did Dancing with the Stars, Twitter was brand new. But it's like you could do whatever you wanted. Nobody paid attention to snowboarding. Now, you know, you do something, whether it's good or bad, and you might end up on Sports
all
Center.
over.
So it's definitely crazy to be part of it from an early point. Not even the earliest, but
You've seen it through.
even through like where we are now with just the rise of social media and all of that. But it's really cool, and it allows, with social media, it's allowed a lot of snowboarders where you don't have to do contests to be a professional snowboarder. Before it was like you film snowboard movies, you do contests. Even now you can just run social and do that aspect, and it's opened up a lot of doors. I don't really enjoy social media as much because Haley and I go back and forth. She'll see a video like, you should post that. And I'm like, oh, I did this wrong. She's like, who cares? Just
And
post
no one
it.
else would know.
But for me, it's like kind of makes me getting a little more comfortable. I'm fine doing this interview, but as soon as the camera's facing me and that's a selfie, I'm not good at it at all.
So you're 21 years old. You're at the Olympics. Is this what dreams are made of?
Yeah, you know, the Olympics was so crazy because, so we had wild weather in Vancouver, a lack of snow. It was a big thing because where we were competing at Cyprus is very close to Vancouver. So they were panicking about snow. So we had a lot of cancellations for practice days. But it was just so wild to me because you had to go through security checkpoint, metal detector. Then you're finally at the venue and you're like, oh my gosh, okay, finally I'm at my happy place.
We're exhausted.
And then you have a big grandstand at the bottom. I did a good job of like blocking out the grandstand, but to me it was just so much hoopla that you weren't used to for a snowboard contest that when you got to the pipe, you're like, huh, I'm here, I'm at my happy place.
Home, yes.
It poured rain the night before and we were like, oh gosh, is
with
this
the
pipe's gonna
snow.
be so crap? But it was really good. They got it together really well. But it was wild because back then we did everything one day. qualifying. If you didn't go right to finals, you had semifinals, and then you had finals. So Sean White and I, we qualified 1 and 2 in our heat. We go chill. We don't have to do semifinals. We went in probably like 11 o'clock, and then we don't compete until 5. So we're chilling in like the wax room, which is like no windows. And then your adrenaline comes down from that. Because normally we do qualifying one day, finals one day. Then we come outside to get ready for finals. It's dark, and you're like, oh, I got to wake up. But I was happy with how I rode. I seized the moment. I thought my score should have been a little better, but that's my personal opinion. Because in snowboarding, there's no syllabus. There's no point value. One day you get hooked up, one day you don't. So, that one hurt a little bit, but at the end of the day, you look at what can I control? I can control how I'm riding. I landed a run at the Olympics on the world stage. That's all that I can ask for.
What makes a good snowboarder?
I think somebody that isn't afraid to push themselves, isn't afraid to fall and get back up. And then you got to be pretty clutch in contest riding. You got to be able to put it down when it matters. Because it used to be then it was 2 runs qualifying, 2 run finals, best of. Now we have events 2 run qualifying, 3 run final. And that 3rd run I used to see, because we go back and forth on competitions where they'd be 2 run or 3 run. 2 run, you'd see a lot more people falling. 3 runs, you'd see a lot more people landing because it took a little bit of the pressure off. But I've always liked 2 runs, you got to put it down right now. You don't win practice, you got to win the event. So I think just consistency and being able to push yourself, and pain tolerance is always a big one.
I was just going to ask you, I know when we were young, we sliced our head open. What's been your worst injury?
Well, I've ridden with my meniscus torn, and that one I was just I do body squats, so all the pain was going. So then when I would lift up my leg to do the trick, it wasn't like a shock. I did my femur in half, but that one didn't actually hurt that bad. Broke and displaced that. Broke my scaphoid, ground that bone down 3 millimeters.
Gosh,
because
your poor mother. This is all that's going through my head.
I re-broke that so many times throughout the winter from smacking it. So I got a bone graft, screw into that one. My discs are my worst one, and I still deal with that on a regular basis. Then I did my back, like a wing, like one of the wings on the vertebrae. I broke that off with all my discs, but I rode with that one. Finished that contest too that I slammed on. So, I mean, the difference is I think I was always asked the doctor, okay, is it going to get worse? Is it not? Is it a pain or what is it? And I can always deal with pain, but, we're not like a basketball where a player's getting paid $20 million and it's like they sprain their finger and they miss half the season. It's like, no, I got to keep going because I'm afraid that this sponsor might drop me if I didn't do all these events. So I've always kind of pushed through, which, I have aches and pains now, but to me, I'd rather have aches and pains, especially as I get older, and live my life rather than been safe my whole life and feel great at 50, 60, 70 years old.
It's true. I'm just I commend you for not being scared to get back on the board, but you just don't have that fear. This is your love.
I mean, there's definitely, you don't want it to happen, but it's not if it's going to happen, it's when. So when I've had different things, it really stinks, but at the same time, and then you just attack rehab and getting back, because that's ultimately, you don't want that injury to define you or to take you out and be the reason why you're done snowboarding.
Sure.
I mean, our sport, though, is like that. It can be gone in a blink of an eye, so make sure you do everything you can in your power now, so if something happens, heaven forbid, or whenever you're done, you have no regrets. There's nothing I would change, and I gave it everything I had. That's what I control.
Let's talk about round 2 at the Olympics.
Okay.
When?
2022.
2022.
Yeah, long period in between there.
Very interesting time of year to go.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
It was very different.
Yeah, I mean, like in Vancouver, we went out, we were in the village, then the U.S. had a house, and then we went back to the village, and we got to go watch all these other events, go walk around the town, go have dinner with my parents. China was like, no, you're in there, you fly in, do your practices, do the contest, you fly out.
Because of COVID.
Yeah, and so getting tested every day, but they did throat testing, so getting a Q-tip jabbed down your throat every single morning before you could go do anything, and it was a wild time.
It was a wild time.
And you have no family there.
No family
Like Haley's
there.
not there, so that's adds to wanting to do this one. So then it's in Italy. You can have people there. Your family will be there and end on a high note.
How did you do in Beijing?
Beijing was pretty good. I got bumped out of finals by the last rider, who's a friend of mine, and I remember watching him. I survived everybody. I'm on the bubble, we call it, if they take 12 or 10, whatever. And then like my friend's going, and I was like, he's really consistent. He fell, or he didn't do well the first run. And I was like, gosh, and he bumped me last rider. But again, it is what I can't control him riding. I can't control the judges' scores. I was happy to be able to, again, put one down. But that one definitely, I was like,
But I really do feel like third time's a charm.
Yeah, I mean, we can go back even like so 2014, from 2010 to 2014, I did like 22 out of 25 podiums. So at 25 events, I podiumed 23, and then 2014 came, and I just couldn't get a score. I was landing runs that had never been done. I just wasn't getting a score. I think I averaged like 4th place or something, and I didn't end up getting selected to go, which I think was like, if I went, I would very confidently, maybe people think it's cocky, whatever, but like the way I was riding all the way up to that, I would have landed, and I probably would have been on the podium. But it's just not the way that it happens.
How do you deal mentally, emotionally with a blow? Like, how do you do that?
Well, that one's tough, but again, you just have to think to yourself, you control the controllable. I can't control anything else but how I rode. And I put down runs I was happy with. I went to X Games, so we finished the qualifiers like mid-January, go to X Games the end of January, Olympics is in February, and I got second at X Games with, like, you whittle that, the big world stage, you whittle it down to the top 10, 15 riders, and I got second with a run that was not even as good as what I was doing in qualifying. It just wasn't meant to be.
And it wasn't meant to be, but also you've reached immense success.
Yeah.
Like, for you to just name off all these things that you've done throughout this entire conversation, are you proud of yourself?
Yeah, that one's a hard one pill to swallow for sure still, just because I really do strongly believe inside I would have been on a podium, if not won, because of how I was riding. Yeah, I can't say that for sure. Again, subjective. Who knows how it would have been that day. So that one's a hard pill to swallow, but you believe that God has a plan for you. There's a bigger picture, so you have to trust in that. And again, know that, we say in snowboarding, sometimes you get the elevator, sometimes you get the shaft. You don't ever know which one's going to happen. So you look back, okay, I was in really good shape. I stopped drinking even before that. I was only focused, so there's no regrets. So there's nothing I can change. I put down runs. It is what it is. 2018 was when my back issues started, because we call it a Roman chair. So do a double and land with your butt on the deck and your feet inside the half pipe. And I remember the contest I did that in, went up my spine, both my legs went pins and needles, finished that event, got second, went to X Games in Europe, won that one, did the whole season, and then it finally went out. So that was the start of that. And then for 2018, like the last qualifiers, I was like practice days, and I had to land with my hands on my knees because the cortisone wore off at that point in the season. And then as soon as I did a trick and I couldn't land with my hands on my knees, it just gave out. So we pulled out of that one, and then we go fast forward to 2022, and then that. So that's why there's a big gap between my first and my second.
But you literally never stop. This is your career. You also have sponsors. So I know you're wearing Toyota, your team Toyota. Do you want to
Yeah, so I've been with Toyota for 14 years now.
Yeah.
13, 14 years. I'm the longest athlete for Olympic sports that they have. And that they've been a dream come true. I mean, I've seen them change, because I was with Toyota before they started the Olympic movement. Then they did a huge Olympic and Paralympic movement. Now they're not part of the Olympics or Paralympics, but they still support all the athletes. Sure. And what they did, was really trying to close the gap between the Olympics and Paralympics, and they did a lot for the Paralympics, which I'm a huge fan of, huge supporter of. So they check a lot of the boxes. They were one of the founding sponsors of Do Tour Forever. So they really went all in on supporting snowboarding. So I've been with them forever. I've been with G-Shock for almost the same amount of time. Ethica I've been with since my friend Malcolm started Ethica and started running that when it was just like, you just give it to friends.
Big deal.
And then, I got my friends has a jewelry company that I'm sponsored with because I love jewelry.
Yeah. What's your favorite jewelry piece?
My wedding ring.
Obviously, yes. We're going to talk all about it. You just know I'm just putting that one on.
Yeah.
2026.
Oh, I got to give one more though. Wiener Schnitzel. Love Wiener Schnitzel.
Really?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Wiener Schnitzel. And
can you sing the song?
That's Oscar Mayer.
Oh.
Wiener Schnitzel though.
But do they have a song too? That is Oscar Mayer.
I don't know. You got to talk to him about it. But my friend who.
Please don't. Oh my gosh. Now Wiener Schnitzel hates me.
Yeah, Wiener Schnitzel though. My friend's dad started it, and he's worked his way.
I grew up. They need a song.
I grew up snowboarding with him in USASA. He was competing out of Aspen, and then he worked his way from working at a Wiener Schnitzel to being marketing to being VP to now he's president CEO.
Are you the face of it now?
No, I'm just like I'm just the supporter of it. I love the brand. I love what he's doing with it.
Yeah.
And it's fun to hear how many people, because we never had a Wiener Schnitzel in Ohio, but how many people that see my sticker on my snowboard, like, oh, that was part of my childhood when I was driving. You know, so it's really cool to see that he's not only worked his way up and carrying on his dad's legacy, but I can be a part of it. And they've been super great, supportive of me as well, too. So
I like your earring.
Oh, thank you.
What's the meaning of that?
Well, I have the safety pin. My friend Squirrel & Co. made both of them. And then obviously I'm a Catholic, so I have the cross.
I love it.
And then this one's the logo. And so I just like jewelry.
We're going all in.
Yeah.
Okay, 2026, Milan.
Yep.
You are in the process of qualifying for the Olympics.
Yes.
Is that how it's always been?
Yes and no. So I went to Olympics in 2010 for the U.S. and then I switched to Italy for 2022 to honor my grandparents and my dad's heritage, which was something we always thought would be cool to do. I wanted to do it before 2018, just took a little bit. But so everybody has the same qualifying to earn a quota spot.
Okay.
We're going to try to do this really simple. It's going to be confusing.
I need layman's terms over here.
Okay, so there's max is 4 quota spots for men, 4 quota spots for women.
Okay.
Then the nation can take those spots and decide how they get their team. So for instance, some nations, you earn a quota spot, you go. Germany's like, you earn a quota spot, you need 2 top 16s and 1 top 8, or 1 top 8, and then you can make the team. Even though we have a quota spot, we might not send anybody. The U.S., like in 2010, the U.S. got the 4 spots, and then they say, we're going to have 5 events from December through mid-January, and your best 2 results, we're going to have a point value. That's how we're going to get our top 4. And we're going to have a coach's discretion, stuff like that. So each nation's different, but so for Italy, I'm starting to earn my points now. I believe it's your best 3 results from December through next January.
Through
next January. So
next January.
So 13 months.
13, and then it starts in February, right?
Yeah, so you'll officially find out right before.
So you officially, so you have to wait that long.
I can have a pretty good idea, roughly.
So what's training like right now? So you're going from training to qualifying. So what's that like?
Well, for me, where I'm at right now in my career, I'm not really going to learn too many tricks during the season. So it's just like stay on your feet, get some points. When I was younger, like I could go in between, learn a new trick, take the slams. But now,
the tricks.
I mean,
What's the most impressive trick? Tell me what it's called. And
that I do or that anybody does?
You.
I think a frontside double cork 1260.
Okay, now explain it.
So 2 flips with 3.5 spins in a sense. There's people that are doing other ones, but again, I think the next closest person that's really competing is 6 years younger than me, 7 years younger than me. So there's a big difference between ages and what my body is good. So you kind of do the risk and reward.
Yeah, but they never pose naked for ESPN.
No, and they haven't done Dance with the Stars. Right. Or have had a career. I mean, for me, and my biggest, I think, thing now is, I've been at this level for 20 years.
Sure.
And it's, you've seen so many people come and go. You've seen some flashes in a pan. They might win some contests, have a great season or 2, but the longevity's not there, and it's just the wear and tear on the body.
I mean, you're going on longevity.
I mean, it's great too. I work with this guy John Schaefer at Winning Factor, who's one of the best trainers in the world. I met him through Apollo Ono, who's been a great mentor of mine. I have great sponsors, obviously, that I've been with forever, that are very supportive. I have a great support system. It's funny, my coach now, Brett Esser, who I was competing with him forever, and then he got into coaching, and now he's coaching me.
It's full circle.
And I'm older than he is, so it's funny. I mean, but it's great. Like, I've had a lot of good people on my team and surrounded myself with and support, so I'm very fortunate. So that's what I look at as like, I've been doing it there's a lot of people who might be on their way up or do really well, but there's very slim chance they're going to be able to do it for as long.
Right.
So.
Okay. When did we meet Haley?
We met Haley.
And first, for people who don't know, all you have to do is Google her or look her up on Instagram. Haley Ostrom is the most beautiful soul inside and out, and a professional golfer. And she's going to be in a reality show with golfing, and she doesn't stop either.
Well, we got to make sure you also, for Instagram, the verified Instagram. There's a lot of fakes out there. It's a verified account.
Yes,
it's a big thing these days.
That's ridiculous, first of all, that we even have to say that.
Yeah, so I just got to
know when it's
put
her.
that. So we met at Reggie Bush's charity golf event.
Right.
I knew Reggie from Red Bull because I used to be sponsored by Red Bull, as he was too. And then she, I don't know, I guess fortunately, unfortunately, I sat behind her on the bus, she and her friend, and I asked about 1 million questions about golf because I like to ask questions and I like to talk. And then we just started talking more and more and more and more, and here we are. So that's where I met her.
Okay, so how long have you guys been together?
6 years.
6 years.
Yep.
We got married. We're coming up on our
1 year
anniversary.
Yeah.
Okay, so you met and you started dating, and obviously she has a career in golf.
Yep.
You have a career in snowboarding. How did you guys mesh and figure that all out together?
Well, I was very fortunate because for me, like, I was always on the road. I mean, the long distance, same city, didn't matter because I was always gone. Where I don't think she was looking into it, like long distance was quite what she wanted. But I very luckily, she was down to do it. Maybe I drug it out a little bit too long for what she was expecting. But, you know, she started out, she was competing, doing tours and, you know, Q school and all that. And then when she switched to just doing like social media, it made it a little bit easier because, you know, she can go film and then come on a trip. For a long time, you know, she was trying to train, practice, compete, come support. And, you know, I didn't come here nearly as much as I probably should have. So again, luckily, she put up with that and traveled more than I did. And then once she switched to the social media side, and that's been just blowing up. We started traveling more and trying to do less distance. So like whether she was coming on more trips or I'd pop down here in between trips, it's worked out. And then now we're still doing the same thing. We've definitely, over the last few years, you know, each year we've cut the time apart by like a lot less.
Where did you propose?
In Switzerland, in Locks. So, again, I probably waited so long that she gave up hope, but it worked out. She was surprised. She said yes.
It worked out.
And it's been great. You know, it's fun, especially where her career is and what she's doing. You know, it's just, the trajectory is just straight up. So it's fun to be a part of that ride and kind of help where I can help, and kind of bounce ideas off, whether it's for me or her bounce ideas off of me for her. It's super exciting, and it's crazy because, like I said, I'm not good on social media. I'm not a huge social media fan, but she is so good, and she's always been true to herself.
Yes, she is.
She doesn't like
very authentic.
Doesn't do it to get followers, and she's not.
But that's why she gets the followers.
But she could. I mean, she could do other things to make her like really skyrocket. But you know, she stayed true to herself, which I've always respected. Because again, it goes back to my parents. You know, be a good person. Over being a good snowboarder. She's a good person. How she is on social media is how she is in real life.
Very true.
And very humble, and also like, you know, we talk and she'll go to a PGA show for a company, and you know, she's always blown away when people stop her or talk to her like, holy cow.
She's humble, she's gracious, she's responsive. She really is an incredible person.
Yeah, I like it.
Now I see, like, you are too. It's a perfect match. So since the beginning of this year, because we were talking, where have you been? Your travel. I want to know your travel schedule so far this year. You've been to.
I did Switzerland in October. We did China, Colorado, Switzerland again, Colorado.
Does Haley go?
She's been to most of them, unless she has some functions. But she's been traveling like crazy too.
She is.
I would say that's where she'll say it too. Like, we differ a little bit. I'm so used to, like, I've gone to New Zealand, come back to the States for 10 days of different trips, never going home, and then back to New Zealand. Whereas she's not quite down with like home for a day, leave. Home for a day, leave.
Well, it's a lot of packing for us girls.
Yeah. So for me, that's what.
It's a lot more demanding.
She comes and it makes it nice and it's great. But she's also like, she takes it to the next level because she'll come. Let's say she comes to Colorado, like she'll come to each practice day. It doesn't matter if it's negative degrees out
she's there.
Or sunny. She's there. She might. I remember one contest. She was there at practice and she's sitting at the bottom of the pipe, the only person down there. only person.
That's so special.
Yeah, I
for
know.
you.
And so I'm like, babe, you don't need like it's
Did you
freezing.
teach her how to snowboard?
Yeah, and she's good. We got to a point where we learned like she had somebody help me with golf. I had somebody help her with snowboarding, but she's been ripping. And it's just getting her out on the snowboard and riding more and more. But every time we've ridden this year, it's like, whoa, that was way better than last time. Well, and it's like right from the jump. So I used to be a joke like, who's better? Like, is Louie better at golf than you are at snowboarding?
I want to know
and
the
forever
answer.
it was, but not anymore.
Okay.
Her snowboarding's gotten so much better. But I had a good round of golf the other day. We did night golf, and that went well for me. So
Haley, it looks like he's catching up.
yeah, so
He's
I mean,
catching up.
it's been fun, but yeah, definitely fortunate. It's funny because she'll say like sometimes she feels weird because she's like at everything, but I'm like, I like it. Everybody loves having you there. I mean, my friends might see me the first time I see them. They're like, "Oh, is Haley coming?" I was like, "Hi to you too."
Hi,
like,
nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
I'm the snowboarder. I'm the Olympian.
It's been a lot of fun, and like in the summertime we go to Mount Hood, we snowboard, and then we go golfing, and then I get to watch her just put a clinic on for all my friends that think they're good at golf.
I mean, that's so fun. Okay, so where's your favorite place to snowboard?
I really like snowboarding at Snowbird. It's like no half pipe, no park. It's just the mountain's big. They get a lot of snow. It's super fun. But that would be one of my favorites. But then I like going like Mammoth in the springtime is like, they do a good job. We have a camp there that we go ride, but it's also just like memories of growing up, going to Mammoth in the spring. I love Aspen. So there's a lot of resorts and that I have like certain reasonings
What
why.
about the scariest mountain? Like, oh shoot, this could be the end for me. Like, have you done those drop-off mountains? Like,
I mean, I've gone on like heliboarding in New
you've
Zealand.
done it. You've done the heliboarding.
But
What's
heliboarding
that like?
can be as extreme as you want it, right? Like, I could take like Haley on a heli trip and like, or we're gonna send her on this run and it's like safe, or the most safe. Then I could go to this spot and like, where if I sent her off that.
Did you do the safe or the not safe?
I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't say like, oh, I'm gonna go do the unsafe one. It's just like what looks fun for me, and I know I can ride.
Was it really cool?
Yeah, because it's like riding great snow without the crowds. But like snowbird, you can get as extreme as you want at snowbird. I mean, you can drop a cliff in snowbird, or you can ride the groomers. It's however you want. So there's been times when I was a little kid and we're hiking. My dad and I are hiking a bowl, and it's super windy and it's super narrow there, and I'm afraid I'm gonna get blown over. Like, that's more scary than actually snowboarding. So it kind of depends on that too.
What's your workout regimen?
I normally do 2-a-days, Monday to Friday, one on Saturday. Lift twice a week. Do like stair workouts. I work out on the stairs a lot with dumbbells. I don't really lift upper body because snowboarding you don't really need your upper body. So core a bit, but mostly that's through lifting, and I got big legs and a big booty for snowboarding, and that's what I pretty much work on.
Okay, so you talked about home, and I know that home is a little bit, you have different senses of home. So you have a home base in Arizona, you have a home base in Utah. Is that you just hop around? Right now we just hop around. For a while I was doing the opposite of the snowbirds. I was coming to Arizona way more in the summer. Yeah, that's crazy. But now, we just kind of bounce around. It depends on like what we need to get done. If Haley's got something, if I have something, this, that, or the other. So we're very fortunate. It's like first world problems. Oh, I haven't been to this place in a while. I haven't been in this place in a while. But like I love coming down here. I'd like to spend some more time at Snow Bowl because I've done the last 2 New Year's there. But I like to go there like, oh, it's snowing. Let's jet up there. Just go. And that mountain, like I've gone twice where they haven't had a lot of snow, and I've had some of my best days of the season there. Just so fun. But I want to go when they get snow because it's crazy to me how big that mountain is, the access you have when it snows, and it's so close to here. Yeah. So I'd like to do some more days up there. But I have friends down here as well. Haley's got friends in Utah, so it's nice wherever we are, we're home and just a little bit different. And but yeah, in the winter sometimes I think she probably prefers being down here rather than having to worry about shoveling snow or bundling up just to go run to the store, to the gym. The clothes are pretty cute though. Yeah, of course. The clothes are cute. So. What's your goal? I mean, look at the life that you've lived and look at everything you've achieved, both professionally and personally. What is your goal? Well, right now I always have like short-term, long-term, those different goals. Right now it's just stay healthy, get through the season, and build up for next season to make the Olympics.
So making the Olympics is always the first step. You can't set a goal of finals and winning and this, that, and the other until you make it. So for me, making it's the main focus right now, staying healthy, which is always the key in my sport because it's a dangerous sport, so you never know. So staying healthy and making the Olympics is my goal for snowboarding. And then, yeah, just keep moving forward, try to be better every day as a husband, person, snowboarder, all of it. You know, try to be better than you were yesterday in a sense.
Any tips for any of the kids listening to you that you've rubbed off on to be a positive influence? Tips for maybe, you know, getting into snowboarding or going an extreme route or anything?
Have fun. Get a crew that's kind of like likes doing what you're doing because that'll push you. And then for me, it's always been just give it everything you have. If you're gonna do it, like might as well be the best at it. Like, but I'm pretty savage like that. Like if we're playing any game. Doesn't matter. We're playing pickleball. We're playing tennis. It doesn't. I want to win, even if I'm not good at it. Like I play golf with Haley. I'll not beat her in golf, but like I still want to. But I'm not there. I don't know if I'll ever be there. But so I always want to. So I'm very competitive. But it's always like trying to be better, right? Because in snowboarding, there's no better feeling than learning something new than doing it for the first time. You can watch little kids on Instagram. They land and they throw their hands up in the air because it's just like a natural reaction. Like holy cow, maybe you slammed 3 or 4 times, 3 or 4 days, 3 or 4 months, and then you finally landed. Like that feeling is hard to get anywhere else. So for me, it's just like give it everything you have fun, and know that there's gonna be peaks and valleys and obstacles that you have to overcome, but you just gotta keep trucking through.
Is there anything else you wanna add?
I don't think so. I think I'm pretty happy. I mean, I'm just glad to be here. It's funny, again, back to being a snowboarder and the doors it's opened and places it's taken me and the friends I've made. Something I never would have dreamed of, and to be doing it at my age now is pretty surreal. So I'm just very thankful that snowboarding's brought me so much.
Well, you know how much I love Haley, but
yeah,
Haley, if you're listening, I love him just as much.
Oh, thank you.
I get it. Okay, I know that you might not post a lot, but where can people follow you on Instagram?
Everything's at Louie Vito.
Yeah.
Instagram, Twitter. I think TikTok,
all the things,
of them, yeah.
And Louie might not know this, but Haley does want a reality show of you and the family.
Yeah.
And the family consists of the dog, Frankie,
Yep.
which is a very big deal.
Oh yeah, that was a Christmas
Frankie the
gift.
puppy, yes. So, I mean, at some point, what is it? What are we calling life with...
I think it's
She's going to be so mad at both of us.
Life with the Vitos?
Life with the Vitos.
Something, Life with the Vitos, I
Well,
think.
keep an eye out.
It's brand new,
It's
so
brand new, but it's going to happen, and you guys are the most beautiful couple to watch,
thank you,
and just
yeah.
a joy to know you. So thank you for being
you.
here, Louie. You can follow us at Nadine Bubeck on Instagram, and we will see you next time.
Now with Nadine, produced at Star Worldwide Networks.